Hey creative friends, it's Gwen. I'm back in the studio today and we are going to be talking fussy cutting. In this video, I want to share with you how I go about fussy cutting and how you can get the best results for your craft projects. Now, if we're going to talk fussy cutting, of course we have to also chat about scissors. I have several pair that I really enjoy working with. These particular ones are from Fiskars brand. I have two pair of these. This is the newer pair and it does have the non-stick coating on the actual blade. This pair here is the older version. I believe it's the older version of the same thing. I just bought a new pair more recently. I love that they have a spring in them. As you can see there, it springs back as you cut, which makes it super easy to work with. I want to show you this doodad here as well. This is a sharpening tool. It's really important when you're fussy cutting that you have scissors that remain really sharp. So you'll want to make sure that your scissors are only being used for your paper crafting projects. You need to keep them separate. Don't leave them hanging around in the kitchen. Don't use them for cutting other things other than your paper craft projects. And make sure that you grab yourself a tool like that one there, which is going to help you keep those blades really nice and sharp. Working with blunt scissors is no fun at all, and you will be able to tell the difference in the quality of the cut. So it is really important to keep them nice and sharp. This pair here is from EK Success. I will leave links in the description box below for anything that I can find links to if you're looking to get a pair just like these. And they are my absolute go-to. I love these scissors so much. I've used them for the longest time and they are fabulous. I'm going to start by fussy cutting out some of the florals in this pattern paper. This one is from Cocoa Vanilla Studio, and my first tip would be to work in sections. It's actually quite hard to fussy cut out elements from a big 12 by 12 sheet like this one. So what I will do first is go through and cut out quite broadly a section that I want to fussy cut. So see how I've just really roughly gone around that floral element there. I can now work on this section by itself, fussy cutting out very close to the edge, and it's much simpler because I'm only manipulating a very small piece of paper, not that giant 12 by 12 piece. Also, when you're cutting florals, you want to be sure to fussy cut out the largest part of the flowers first, and you want to end up with really large pieces to begin with. So you'll see here there are two pink flowers in this little section here. I'm actually going to keep those together. I'm not going to separate them at this point. And the reason for that is so that you have options later. So you can always trim off a section, but you can't add a section back on. Once it's been fussy cut off, it's detached forever, right? So what you'll want to do, if you're going to be binge cutting, which I would recommend, you want to cut out sections and keep them as large as possible. And then when you are creating your actual layout, that's when you can decide to make your flowers smaller or to trim off extra elements as you see fit. The other thing that you'll notice here is that I'm moving my paper and not my scissors, and that's really important. Moving the paper allows you to get a really smooth line, especially when you're working around circle shapes or floral shapes. You want the flow to be nice and smooth. You want that outside edge as you're cutting to be really smooth, and the best way to achieve that is by moving the paper and not your scissors. If you're just starting out, I would definitely recommend just taking your time. Don't rush this process. There's no prize for fussy cutting out quickly. Take your time and work very methodically. And what will happen, the more that you do it, the better you'll get at it, and then also the faster you'll be able to work with a similar great result. The other thing that I will mention here as well is that it is actually a lot easier to fussy cut out elements if you include a small white border around the edge. So I would definitely recommend that if you are new to fussy cutting and you're still building up your skills and your confidence. But also, if you have any health issues, if you've got a physical reason that you find fussy cutting difficult, adding a white border is a really good option for you as well. You can also start with quite a wide white border, and then as your skills improve, you can reduce that down to a thinner one, and then obviously eventually you might decide that you don't want a white border on there at all. I actually mix and match. I sometimes want that white border depending on what I'm trying to fussy cut out. If it's a floral that's maybe a watercolor style or something that doesn't have a super obvious edge to it, if I want to define the shape a little bit better, I will add a white border just to be able to do that. It's also a good idea to add that white border if you're mixing and matching your fussy cut pieces with die cut pieces. A lot of the die cut ephemera pieces come with the white border, so you'll want to do one of two things. You'll either want to have the white border on both the die cuts and your fussy cutting, or have no white border on both. So you'll need to maybe fussy cut off that white edge from the die cut ephemera pack. Next up, we are going to fussy cut out some butterflies. But before I do that, I do want to show you what happens when you use your scissors and close them completely. So you don't want to be doing that. You want to be using the center part of the scissor only and not going all the way to the end. If you do close the scissor completely, what will happen is it will leave a very small tear in your paper, and you won't want that. Here, I'll show you a close-up. It's a little bit hard to see on camera, but it is really obvious in real life. So to avoid that, you'll want to be sure to only be using that center area of the scissor blade. So this pattern paper is another one from Cocoa Vanilla Studio, and it has a bunch of butterflies printed on it. And I'm actually going to fussy cut out all of the butterflies, and I'm going to end up using these as die cut embellishments for my projects. It really highlights one of the main reasons that I enjoy fussy cutting. I do find it very therapeutic just by nature, and I do like to do it while I'm watching TV in bulk. But it's also a really economical skill to have for your scrapbooking because embellishments are expensive and pattern paper is much less expensive. I can spend a couple of dollars on a really pretty piece of pattern paper and then fussy cut out all of those elements and end up with, 50 different sort of ephemera pieces that I can mix and match on all kinds of projects. Here I'm going to fussy cut out the center element from this Project Life card, little pocket page card. I am not a pocket page scrapbooker, but I do get these when I buy these collections, and I use a lot of the little printed icons to fussy cut out, and then I convert them into embellishments for my page. I do find these ones a little bit more tricky than the pattern papers. These are actually a much thicker cardstock style paper. And I have found that there's this sweet spot when you're fussy cutting. If the paper's very thin and flimsy, it's a little bit trickier to cut out. But then also on the other end of that scale, if it's more card than say paper, if it's a bit thicker, I find that sometimes that can be a little bit tricky to cut as well. So you'll find as you get more experience in it, you'll find like a sweet spot, and there'll be particular papers that are really great for fussy cutting, and you'll go to seek those ones out. It's definitely worth the trial and error. It's 100% worth putting in the practice and building on this skill because it will definitely extend your scrapbook stash. It will give you some more options when you're creating. You'll be able to stamp elements and then fussy cut them out. You'll be able to use pattern papers in a way that you haven't been able to before. It'll open up the door to the whole world of cut files and backing cut files and how they can add amazing detail to your scrapbook layouts. And it's really therapeutic. I find it very relaxing to sit and binge cut out a bunch of icons, which I can then use later on in my projects. If you'd like even more details on fussy cutting, in particular how I go about backing the cut files that I use on my layouts, you'll want to check out this video right here. If you like the way that I scrapbook or the way that I chat about the way that I scrapbook, give this video a thumbs up and I'll see you all next time. Bye!